we'll pull up the slides. As you said, I've been I've been working on with IPFS. It feels like almost from the beginning now, and now kind of be interesting to be working with Filecoin also in its infancy and stuff like this. So this talk is just going to be a little tool that me and Brian built here at our company OB1. Brian came up with this 5MB name. Naming stuff is always like real difficult. So I was referring, because this is dealing with packages, I was just referring to it as AMZM on the command line, or AMZN. So Brian calls it 5MB. So we'll just talk a little bit about, who we are, OB1. We've built quite a few things. OpenBazaar, which is a desktop app. We built Haven, which is a iOS and Android app. Both of these have been using OpenBazaar IPFS really from very early on. So this is IPFS on mobile for the Haven, and then a bunch of other stuff with it too, like our search engine and some social stuff in Haven and all of this. So problem this tool is kind of intended to solve. This is a problem that other people might have too, but it's also, we're working on something kind of a little bit beyond just this tool that we're going to be utilizing this tool for, that has a similar problem. You have package repositories, can be massive, very large data sets that we want to store. And we want to make sure we can do that kind of efficiently. And we have tools to kind of, pull out the certain parts of the data that when we need it, but not necessarily have to retrieve like the whole thing. Why build on Filecoin? Obviously, we love you guys and have a really good reputation in the community. I mean, that's a big part of it. And of course, for our purpose here, we'd like to have ways of incentivizing data storage infrastructure in sort of a sustainable way, which of course is what Filecoin attempts to do. And so we're, hope we can build some tools that can help people out in doing this. So this is 5MB. It's a little project that we've put together. It's a tool for basically managing like really large data sets and getting them into Filecoin and helping retrieve them, and kind of go over how we're doing that. So, we've got this command line tool. There's the AMZ, I named it. There's a web server involved. We're using PowerGate and Lotus. There's a database involved, IPFS, this sort of stuff. So basically, first thing we're doing is when we're going to essentially like rsyncing a large package archive. And we're taking it, this could be like, many gigabytes of data. For example, we've got like the Ubuntu archive and things like this, that it's basically a very large directory. And what we're doing is we're kind of splitting it up into like different sort of buckets and segments. And we're kind of ingesting that, each of these like buckets are being ingested into, well, we do it into PowerGate. So they're being like staged in IPFS and like a hot storage. And then they're also going to like long-term storage in Filecoin. And then the tool will also manage like making the deals in Filecoin, monitoring them, dealing with any errors that are handled, and making sure that, everything ends up fully staged there in Filecoin. And it saves all this information in our database, like a mapping between like the path of the files that we're interested in, and like what deal into Filecoin it went to, so that we can ultimately retrieve it later if we know the file path. And then the last part is just retrieval. So what we've done here, and this doesn't have to be a use the Filecoin or the IPFS UI, but IPFS has this nice little web UI for browsing through directories. And so we've kind of modified this so that when you start clicking through different directories and subdirectories and files, it is doing a check to see, like, do we have a cached copy in like hot storage and IPFS? And if not, then it's going and it's setting up, connecting to the Filecoin network in order to try and retrieve it. And so it's notifying the user that, like, hey, we're pulling this from like long-term storage, so you can come back later, and this file will be available for you. So we can like look up the mapping between the path that they're looking at and retrieving it from the individual kind of bucket or slice that has the file that we're interested in from the Filecoin network. Challenges, we've got, Filecoin being a new network, especially working with testnet was maybe a little bit challenging every time it, there was an upgrade and stuff like this. User experience, one thing that we would like to improve on is the ability to provide sort of more transparency into the user as, like the status of retrieving that file, like how long they can expect it to be, when they should check back. Like right now, we're just have a static page that it just shows and says, hey, we're retrieving this. You can check back later and we'll get it. So upgrading that user experience is good too. And then, still a bit of a steep learning curve. I think, a lot of the tools and stuff are still kind of raw, and kind of learning how Filecoin works under the hood is a little challenging too. Like as someone, I'm like a Bitcoin Cash developer as well, sort of in my spare time. So I work on, full node software, and I'm pretty technical in that regard. And it's still, even for me, like pretty challenging to just kind of understand what the heck is going on under the hood of Filecoin. So there is that kind of, steep learning curve there in terms of it's a pretty unique blockchain architecture that you don't really see elsewhere. So what's next? We are going to be using this tool in like an application that we're building, that's going to provide sort of like a little, almost like Patreon thing for storing packages where people can, or not packages, but files and directories and things like this, where people can, like subscribe to different packages and incentivize storing them and paying to have them stored and stuff like this. So this tool is something that we're going to use in that, and maybe hopefully it'll be useful for other people too if they want to use it. I think that's it. So
someone asked if you have an API that they can test.
Right now it's a command line tool, but we can show you how to use that for sure too. We'll publish something maybe on our website about it too, on how to use it.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. This is fantastic. I'm sure if people have questions, they'll reach out on Slack, which I know you're very active on, or check out your website for some documentation. Thanks, Chris.